Hello my friends, my name is Irvin, also known as Koboman. Today we have a combination of videos so that way you don't have to go through and look for these topics. This way you can just sit down and watch the whole thing at once because it's very useful, especially for Helpdesk. The first part of the video is about practical Helpdesk troubleshooting. It's a very good one because in this example you're not allowed to use RDP whatsoever. The second part, it talks about Windows updates and how they are important to understand if you're in Helpdesk or even desktop support. And the last part of it, if you're new to Helpdesk or want to get into IT, this last video shows you how to create a resume. This resume is based off my own resume and based off its own success. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please take a moment to like. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and let's get into it. All right, here we go, guys. I've created a couple of tickets that we can work on. And the first one right here, it says, my program is not working. Now, keep in mind, again, we don't have access to remote desktop. We don't have any tools like VMware or VNC or anything remote that we can use, or any third-party remote software that we can use in order to help this user with their issue. So their issue is here, my program is not working, and in the description it says here, every time I click on a program icon, nothing happens. Please help me. Thanks, Larry B. So here's the thing. First thing we got to do is actually ask Larry what his PC name is. Once he comes back with that information, we can start to work with that. So you may have to call him, talk to him and say, hey, Larry, what is your PC name, so that way we can try to help you out. But of course, be more professional. Like you would call him and say, hey, this is, for example, this is Irvin. I'm with end user support and I have your ticket about my program is not working. I can help you, but can you please tell me what your PC name is? So what we are going to do with that PC name is try to remotely access it. However, first thing first, we gotta assign this ticket to ourselves. So I'm going to assign it to myself. Although this is not a ticketing video, I want to make sure that that's happening. So I'm going to actually reply here and also tell him, hello, this is Irvin with EUS end user support. Can you please tell me what your PC name is? So of course I wanted to give you as detailed as possible how you'd work this, so this is why I kind of put this note in, which in reality it should send him an email or a notification of some sort so he can respond to you with that information. Or again, you can just talk to him, call him, get in contact with him to get this information, so that way you can take a look and see what's going on. Again, we don't have RDP, so there is no GUI that we can look at here, and we're just going to use PC name as that. So let's go to the PC, the user's PC, so we can find that out real quick. So here we are. This is the user's computer. So while they're on it, you can just instruct them how to get their PC name if they don't know how to. So you can say, Larry, can you please go to your search bar? And the reason I'm going about it in this way is because users are very familiar with the search bar because they always look at it. And you can just tell them, click inside the search bar and just type in system or PC or whatever you feel comfortable with, because there are multiple locations where you can find the PC name. So here's just the system that comes up, and then you can tell them, hey, where does it say system name? And here it is. It says Koboman 1. So once he gives you that information, we're going to go back to our computer. So now we know that the PC name is, I'm adding an internal note, PC name is Koboman 1. Now we're going to try to access it. Now, of course, while we talk to Larry here, we want to make sure that we know which program is not working. So we're going to access that, access his computer using just over the network, using a file explorer over the network. The way you do that is open a file explorer and just type in backspace or backslash, type in Koboman 1. And then another backslash, and then we're going to access his C share drive, which should be enabled by default for your business. It may not be, but it really should be in a business type of environment. It should let you in. You may get a pop-up asking you to log in. and that's fine too. Just use your credentials, and if you have access, that's great. So once we're inside of C, right now we're connected to his PC over there. You can see that it's on the network connection right here, and then the name of his computer is Cobbleman1, and we're inside of his C drive. We're looking at his C drive just using a file explorer. So he's using a program, right? He's using a program, and we know it's not working, and then we're going to ask him, which program is it, right? And then of course, since we don't have remote desktop, we can't initiate the repair. Normally you can just repair the program, and a lot of times that would fix it, uninstall it, reinstall it and whatnot. But if you don't have that option, or user doesn't have the admin privileges to do it either, and again, you don't have remote desktop of any type of software, we're going to try to fix that by going to his local profile, because in this case, if we go back here, it says nothing happens when he runs the program. So what do you suspect? I suspect some kind of configuration issue, or just corrupted data or cache inside of his local profile where the configuration resides. So we're going to go inside of users folder, and we're going to look for his local profile. We're going to ask him, what is your local profile name? And then he's going to tell you what his local profile name, which is going to be the same thing as his login. So we're going to pretend that his login is BUCO. We're going to go inside of that, and typically configuration data for any type of program that's run under your local profile is going to be in app data folder. So we're going to click on app data, and then a lot of times it's either going to be in local or roaming. So let's go into local folder and see what happens. So let's say he has problems with Adobe. We can simply just to kind of clear the cache, we can simply rename this folder into Adobe Old, for example, and as long as his program is not open, it's going to let us rename it like that. And this is okay because once he launches Adobe, it's going to create a new version of the same folder. And just to kind of show you what's inside, we're going to go inside of this, and you can see that if you kind of browse through, you can see that it's either empty, and a lot of times I picked this randomly, but there will be some configuration data like config files and this and that. But since it's at the local profile level, it's not necessarily something that's part of the program as in program that it needs to function. It's something that's created for the local profile as the part of the configuration for that profile. And the same thing happens with anything else. For example, there's Google here. If you go inside a Google here folder, and if you go, you can see that it's a Chrome, and if you go inside of that, you can see there's user data. Again, this is what I talked about. And if you, for example, go to default, you can see that there is a cache data inside of it. And of course, you can find things like I don't know, their favorites and stuff like that, which is, by the way, missing on this one, but that's okay. So let's stay on track here. Since we messed with Adobe, I'm going to tell him, go ahead and try to open Adobe again. So let's go back to the user's computer. All right, so we're back at the user's computer. We don't need this window anymore. Actually, I'm just going to, let's close it. We're going to close it, and then we're going to, so at this point, I'm telling him, okay, go ahead and open Adobe. So he's going to type in Adobe, and then we're going to click Adobe Reader. We can see that Adobe Reader works fine. And let's kind of go back to our computer so we can see again what's going on from our point of view. We are now back at our point of view as a technician, and we can see that the new folder was created for Adobe, like I stated. So that created new, and you can see that here that the date is 6/10/2020 at 1 p.m. and if you look at the time here, it's 1:01 p.m. So that means it created just like I said it would. And what that does, it basically resets that program, and a lot of times it actually resolves the issue. All right, now just in case you actually had to go in and change registry settings, that's something you can also do without having to have a remote desktop, as long as you have the proper credentials to do so. So on your computer, on your own computer that you're using, your work computer, you're going to open up a registry editor, and you have to run it as administrator. So remember how computer name for this gentleman was Cobbleman1 here, and let's pretend that we have to go into registry and add some kind of a function, some kind of key to make it work. We can do that remotely as well. So we're going to take Cobbleman1, which is the name of his computer, and we're going to connect to it over the network registry. So we're going to connect to his registry on his computer over the network. We're going to click network. We're going to put in Cobbleman1. We're going to check name to see if we can actually find it on the network. And it usually takes a little bit. It depends, on the setup. But you can see that it found it and it's located on this work group. But a lot of times it would just be a domain name where it says new server 0. That's actually the name of my work group for my local computers at home. But it'll be kind of the same deal when it comes to domain. It will be domain name first, followed by the computer name. So that means it found it. When it's underlined like that, it means it found it. We can click OK. And we are now directly connected into his registry. So let's go ahead and kind of navigate, see if we can find that Adobe. We're going to expand HKey local machine. It's a local machine on his computer. We are now connected to it. We're going to expand HKey local machine. And guess next thing we're going to do? We're going to use some logic here, guys, and we're going to just go to software. We're going to expand software because we know Adobe is software. Now, there are a couple of different places that it might be, depending on whether it's 32-bit or 64-bit software, but you can see right away that Adobe shows up here. So if you expand that, you can see that this is actually for Premiere Pro and After Effects. So that's not what we're actually worked on. We actually worked on Adobe DC, or Adobe Reader DC. So if we scroll down and expand WoW 6432 node, which indicates that it's a 32-bit software, we can now look for Adobe here and expand that, and we can now see that there is Adobe Reader there, right there. And then if we expand that, there's DC, and inside of that we can, whatever we need to make changes to, we can now go inside of its remote registry settings and make any changes that we want. Once we make these changes, we can immediately ask the user to try to see if the issue was resolved. Okay, now let's look at another example here, and another example of a ticket. Of course, finish up noting your ticket. I'm going to add internal note here first. I'm going to say issue resolved by configuration. And then depending on the environment that you work in, you may have to specify what you exactly did, in which case we did I don't know, reset config folder data. We're going to save it, and then we're going to mark it resolved, completed, and that's that. That ticket, that ticket should be now gone out of our system, and we're going to now concentrate on this second ticket. All right, let's click on this ticket. This ticket is called I am missing internet shortcuts folder. And then if you look in the descriptions, we can see that it says internet folder is missing from my desktop. So in this case, there is a folder, or there was a folder on their desktop that, it was deleted or just simply gone. Who knows? Maybe it was moved somewhere. That happens sometimes too. User would just accidentally, for example, they would if you look at over here, they would drag it somewhere and it would go God knows where, So typically you would say, hey, can you check your recycle bin? Go inside of your recycle bin and check if it's in there, this and that. And yeah, definitely do all of that stuff. But if it's not there and it's just one of those things that you may have a copy of, let's say you can't find it, but you can find a copy of, you can ask them, hey, does anybody else have a copy of it? Maybe I can copy it over, because it's just internet shortcuts. We can certainly do that. Again, we're going to have to get some information from them before we can proceed further. But we're going to role play, and then first thing, of course, we're going to do assign a ticket to ourselves, and then we're going to reply to customer, hello, this is Irvin with US, or you can say tech support, doesn't matter. Let's do tech support with tech support, or you can say Helpdesk, whatever your situation might be. Can you please provide your PC name? so that I can restore your folder. Thank you. Thanks you. Thanks, Ervin. Okay. So now user has been asked, or you can call them, you can talk to them. Again, we're going to go back to the user, and we're going to get that PC name, and in this case we're going to pretend that the same PC name is Cobbleman, so we're going to keep doing that. The PC, let's do this. Users PC name is Cobbleman1. All right. So kind of same thing, and I'll show you something else just in case this doesn't work. We can go back into his desktop, and then we can just copy paste whatever it is that they need. So let's pretend that actually let's go ahead and just create a quick folder called Internet Shortcuts, and now we're just going to copy pasta onto his desktop. Okay, now let's go to his computer. Now we're at his computer, and we can say, hey, can you please check to see if the Internet Shortcuts is back? And sure enough, there it is. But what if for some reason just using a PC name doesn't work? There might be an issue with DNS. So just typing in Cobbleman1 and going inside of that shared drive or shared network connection, I should say. What if that doesn't work? Then we're going to have to get an IP address and see how that goes. So you can ask them too, hey, what is your IP address? And if they're like, I don't know, you can just ask them, okay, well, can you go command line this and that? But that's too complicated. So let's go back and ask them to give us the IP address without any confusion. But let's see what else we can do. Before we do that, let's see what else we can do without actually confusing things and confusing the user, because we don't want to do that. We just want to find that out on our own. All right, let's go back to our own computer. All right, so let's say this wasn't successful and this didn't work, and for some reason we can't access it using Cobbleman1 like so. Let's say that doesn't work. Let's say we're not able, we get an error, or it just doesn't, it just says not found. Then we're going to find their IP address and see if that works. So of course, the first thing we can do is open our command line and do a quick ping. We're going to do a quick pingage. We're going to type in ping Cobbleman1. And here's our result. And guess what it is? It's an IP version 6. It's an IP version 6. If we do this, it's not going to work. Nothing's going to happen because this systems are not set up to, what I call backdooring into a computer. Some people may disagree, but this is what I call backdooring into a computer. You can just type in, and usually instead of just a PC name, you just type in the IP address, and same deal. Let's see if we can get that C share. Yeah, it's not going to work. So now we need to actually find what the IP version, or translated, or I guess translated in a way, but what we're actually looking for is an equivalent IP version 4 of this IP version 6 IP address. So this is IP version 6 that we're looking at here, but we want to know what the standard is, what the standard IP version 4 is. So let's go back to the user's computer. You can say, hello sir, can you please tell me what your IP address is? And you can just tell them, can you please go to the search bar and then type in, I don't know, there are a couple of ways of getting to it. I'm just going to tell them to type in network. And then first thing that comes up is network status. And I'm just going to tell them, why don't you go ahead and click on change connection properties. And then if we scroll down, it gives you a bunch of different information. Here's our IP version 6. Remember, this is our IP version 6 that we tried earlier. And it didn't work, but luckily we do have equivalent IP version 4, which is right here, and that is 192.168.1.102. All right, let's go back to our computer. All right, now let's try that. So we're going to //192, and you can see that I accessed it before. So 192.168.1.102. and then C $. Enter, and there it is. Same thing that we can do with whatchamacallit. Same thing we can do with the registry. We can connect using the IP address. But let's go ahead and take care of this user real quick. We're going to go and copy the internet shortcuts folder back into their desktop. And now that we are back at user's computer, now we can see that internet shortcut has appeared. Now let's go ahead and do the registry edit thing. Reg edit. And then we're going to use that connect network registry. Let me just minimize this stuff real quick here so it's out of the way. 192.168.1.102. Okay. And again, it takes just a little bit to kind of figure out what's going on. And now it's actually asking me for login ID. So I'm going to use, typically you can use your domain login, but since I'm not on a domain, I'm just going to use a local admin ID and password. And there it is. We're back at the same thing, except now we're accessing it using an IP address. So there you have it, guys. There are many, many different ways to deal with this. These are just the typical ones that I go for when it comes to resolving issues like this real quick whenever I'm working tickets. Whenever, I work as a business system analyst, but I do work on tickets, especially nowadays, now that we're working from home. So they need more assistance. So this is what I do mostly nowadays, simply because different times, guys. So now I'm just going to finish my ticket here. Made a copy of internet folder to desktop. Whatever you want to put in there, as long as it's detailed enough so that if somebody looks at it, like your boss knows what you did. And I'm going to resolve this and mark it complete. All right, guys, if you got 1 second, please click the like button. It really means a lot to me. That way I know you guys like my stuff, and I'll keep making more videos because of that. Thank you so much, and let's get into it. All right, guys, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video. Windows updates. What do we need to know about Windows updates? Let's have a look on Windows updates, how they look like on your computer. I'm sure you already know this, but this is how you get to them. If you click on the Start button and then click Settings, and then if you click Update and Security, and that's just one way of getting to Windows updates. So this is what you see nowadays. This has changed a lot from Windows 7, and it kind of looks like this now, where it gives you a little bit more options. Right now I have paused Windows updates, and for the right reasons, because I wanted to show you how it looks like when it starts updating in case you're not aware. Most of you, I'm sure, have seen this happen on your computer, but a lot of times it just happens in the background and it just kind of does its thing. So here's an example of security intelligence update here for Microsoft Defender Antivirus. So what that was actually was an update for your built-in Windows antivirus software, and we saw what they called a KB, which is a knowledge base article about that. Here's another one here, and this one is a update for Windows 10 version 1909 for x64 based system, and here's the KB number for it. So KB, we're going to copy this KB, the whole thing. So it's KB 4497165, and then we're going to look it up on the internet to see exactly what this is. But we can tell kind of here what it might be, kind of in just general. So it's kind of vague. Right now, all it tells us it's update from Windows 10 version 1909, and down here you can see that it's a fairly large or an important update that it requires a restart. So there's a pop-up here that says restart, and of course we have a big old restart button here. So let's kind of dig into this. Version 1909. Why does it say version 1909? Well, let's see what our Windows version is. So if you go to search button and just type in VER, I'm sorry. So if you hit enter, it gives you the Windows version. So here it is. It's our version 1909, Microsoft version 1909. And again, it's pretty vague, and it just tells us that it is update for that specific OS build. So it's Windows version 1909. All right, so if you do me a favor and pause the video here and kind of check which version you have on your computer, and I'm really curious to which version you guys are using, you'd be surprised. I bet some of you have a version like 1809 or even something else. Let me know in the comments. I'm really curious about that. All right, so we have copied our KB. Now we're going to open up, let me see here. You know what? Let's just open Edge. See if it works. I've actually seen Edge work sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it just crashes out of the blue, but that's okay. We're going to just open it up, and we're going to go to Google Edge and search for our knowledge article, is what I call them. Don't know exactly what they would call it. Hey, there's no connectivity, which is really, really surprising because I know I do have connectivity. Huh, cannot connect securely to this page. Oh, there it is. That was really bizarre, guys. I'm not sure. It could be my internet that is causing this issue. Although I did get a new modem just literally last week. Maybe it's my router. Maybe I need to change some router setting. So here's our KB here, and it's 4497165. Let's see if it refers to that. 4497165. We have double checked that, and here is a knowledge article from Microsoft. Here it is. It's a Intel microcode updates, and now we can kind of dig into this and kind of see what this is about. Again, this is good to know for somebody who is working desktop support before you push these type of updates to all the computers in the environment or a business environment. So let's look at what kind of what this is about from top to bottom. So you can see that it's an article and that there is the title of it, and it says here applies to Windows Server version 1903, all editions Windows 10 version 1903, all editions Windows Server and Windows version 1909, and then all editions, and then there's more. So basically it's an update for all versions of Windows that are 1903 through 1909. Okay, and in the summary it says, basically it's a description of it, and it's an update to Intel microcode for the following products of CPUs, basically is what they're talking about. So here are different types of CPUs. These are all different types of Intel CPUs, and that's what the updates is for. So we got Demerton, Sandy Bridge E, Valley View, Whiskey Lake U, and then there's these other ones. We got Haswell desktops, a lot of server type of stuff. So in the nutshell, this article tells us a lot more information than what we see here in just a basic kind of title of Windows updates. And as desktop support, you want to look and read this whole thing, the whole thing, before you actually decide to push this update. And of course you want to test it in a business type of environment. Basically you want to test it on a computer that you have, like in a lab that you're testing before you push these. It's probably okay. These are all just just a microcode update for CPUs, and they've been tested by Microsoft before they decided to update. But this is the same type of thing you have to do as somebody who does desktop support as well. So that's one important thing. This example just happened to be this microcode update, and it's a good example because you don't want to you don't want to brick all your system by installing a new microcode on your computer. But let's kind of look at an update history so we can look at another example of a Windows update. All right, so I'm going to close this. We're going to restart a little bit later, but I first want to show you this other. Hey guys, I'm sorry to interrupt the video here, but I just want to pause it real quick and just kind of clarify that where I'm going right now is a place where Windows updates can be removed. The reason I'm going to this tab or this area is because it's easier to kind of talk about installed updates that are already on there. However, if you want to see the full history of updates on this computer, you can just kind of pay attention to this arrow that is pointing to that. So we wouldn't necessarily go anywhere else from this tab if you just want to see the updates that are on there. some updates are not removable, but the page I'm going to are the ones that you can remove them. Type of Windows update. So to see those, we actually have to go to apps and features. So I'm going to right click our little start button here. We're going to click apps and features, and it's not going to be here. We're going to have to go to our other old school type of add remove software or program that you probably are familiar from Windows 7 and older operating system. So right here we're going to actually click on programs and features. This is going to take us to a place that gives us a lot more details of what it's installed, and I personally like it better because it's kind of a smaller font, it's more compact, and you can see a lot more. So this is a typical place where you would see all the things that are installed on your computer, whether it's just some programs, some distributable packages, everything that you've pretty much installed manually and things that have installed automatically. But that's not exactly what we are looking for here. We were looking for actual updates. And that is actually located right here, right above Turn on Windows Features On and Off. There's a button called View Installed Updates. So we're going to select that and check it out. Now I'm going to kind of move this around a little bit here so I can show you something very interesting. I'm going to squeeze this here. Oh, okay, that's good enough. So I wanted to show you, remember the KB that we looked at first? It was KB 4497165. Well, here it is. It's actually here on the bottom, and on the right side here, if you notice, there is no installed on date. So there is the installed on column, and there's no install on date because we still haven't rebooted here. We're still waiting for it to actually fully install. And once that's done, we're going to have the actual installed on date here. And the reason I'm telling you this is because this is the order that it's sorted out by default. So once you open this, the bottom one is always going to be the most current Windows update. So we're going to start looking from the top, and that's the first thing that was installed, and it was on June 18, 2018. And the first thing that got installed was KB2565063, which is just basically a Microsoft Visual C++ 2010 redistributable. So what that is, it's just a package that is required to run a certain program. Some programs require this, and this is what that is. It's kind of self-explanatory. We can look it up just to confirm. So it's 2565063. Let's go back to our Google. I'm going to type in 256.063. Is that what it was? That's right. 256.5063. 256.5063. And here it is, the first update for Microsoft Windows. And it's very vague. We don't know what this is. So this is our good opportunity to figure out what that is. So it's KB 4556799. All right, let's see. 455. See, my short-term memory. It's really early in the morning, so I can't exactly. Sometimes 6799. 6799. I had my coffee, but my short memory is not that great. So let's see here again. March 12th. That's when it was created, and it's 4556799. We're going to click on that. I'm going to move it up here and see what that is. All right. So here it is. It's kind of the same thing. We can see here what it applies to again, and you can certainly read that as well, and you can see the actual release date on it. My computer got it. Let's see here, 8 days later. Did I say March? I'm sorry, it was actually May that it installed on. Now, this one is actually also vague, which is kind of very disappointing. I wish we could get more information on this. But if we scroll down, and we can see that there are highlights for this knowledge base article, and all it is, it just tells us that it's updates to improve security when using Internet Explorer and Microsoft Edge, updates to improve security when using input devices, and updates to verify user password. So these are just regular updates to the basically kind of security settings that are kind of used in Windows operating system. And you can see how it goes on. Improve security when using Microsoft Xbox, Windows, improve security on Windows, perform basic operations. So these are just regular things that they keep updating to kind of make sure that everything stays secure on your computer. And that's what this update is about. It's very vague. It's not a like critical update or anything like that. It's just something that they keep doing and doing to kind of improve things on the operating system. So here's a security update that I wanted to show you, and it's KB45521522. Let me see if I can remember that. 21552. Nope. I need more coffee, guys. 4552152. Okay, there it is. All right, so we're going to click on this one. There it is, 4552152. And again, we can go through this and verify what it is. And this update makes a called improvements to service stack, which is the components that installs Windows updates. So this is an update to Windows Update. Okay, all right, sure. And it's labeled a security update. All right, I mean, I'm not sure about these labelings that they're using at this point, but the point is of this whole video is that you want to look up as much information and find out as much information about any Windows updates before you push them to mass computers, and definitely want to test them out. There's not much we can do when it comes to kind of digging really deep into this and looking at the code and this and that. And when it comes down to it, it's up to Microsoft to share this information. And again, this is kind of disappointing, but it is very, very vague, very vague. When you do desktop support, you will have control of which updates are installed at which times, and this and that, which is a great thing. Otherwise, I'm not sure how else you could deal with this. When it comes to these type of updates, Microsoft is 100% in control, and when it comes to what they are actually working on and what they're fixing, and you as somebody who does desktop support would just have to make sure that they're safe, and you would have to do some testing before you actually deploy them, and that can take sometimes up to a month or even more, depending what the update is. But you definitely want to figure out as much as possible what it's about and do extensive testing when it comes to some of this stuff. And yes, I know most of these things you can just literally just install and test it. If it's a minor update or it's just update this and that, you still don't want to like install it and say, hey, it works fine on this computer. No, you want to kind of hang in there for at least a week, I want to say, with some computers being actively used, to see if everything is okay, just to make sure that that is cool. All right, guys, so here's our resume template. There will be a link in the description for this if you're interested. This is based off a resume that I've used before and got jobs. So this is something from 2013. Since I've had good luck with it, I'm going to use this as a template and kind of modify it. I have removed a bunch of stuff, a bunch of personal information that I didn't want to share, obviously, but the gist of it is here. It was a one page, and the one pager, in my opinion, is the best because employer doesn't necessarily want to read through all of that stuff. So we're going to modify it from top down. I'm going to read the things that are in the boxes here and for each category here that I have, and then we're going to delete it and kind of provide or insert your own. I'm going to teach you how to do it, and we're going to use the template that is available to us right now. So the first thing you want to see and you want to type is your name. So I'm just going to type in Irvin D. You want to spell out your whole name there. I'm just putting D because I want to stay private as much as I can. And then you can change the font. You can see that the font here is actually 22. You can play around with this a little bit. I wouldn't go less than 18, or what is it that I changed it to? 18. And because you want the employer to kind of see your resume right away. All right. The next thing it says here, it's address. I actually typed in address there, just the word address, but you want to type in your own address. So if you're following along with this template, just type in your address. I'm just going to pretend like this is my address, Lakeview Drive, which is not my address, by the way. and I'm just going to type in St. Louis, Missouri 63, I don't know, 555, whatever. So type in your address, and then here it says cell phone. Most people have cell phones, or if you have a home phone, you can replace this with home, but otherwise you just type in your phone number. So I'm just going to type in my cell phone number, and you do the same thing. And then here for the email address, whatever that is, you just type it in as well. Very simple. The reason you want this is, let's say you go for an interview and then a week or two passes by, which is normal because the employer goes through so many applicants. But then they know once they're done interviewing all the people, they may say, hey, I kind of like that Irving guy. So they go through all of these resumes, and you want them to see your name first. You want them to find them as quickly as possible. You want this to be the first thing they see, and of course your cell phone and your email address. Okay, that's the whole point of having it like this. Admittedly, this style of resume is a little bit old. As you can see, it's from 2013, but I'm using this because this is what I used to get this job back in the day. I don't see why you would want to change the style anyway from this. But the reason, and another reason for me to actually use this, is because the way the information is laid out on a single page, and it works. You want it to be, something that potential employer can just read and get right away and get hooked into it, because you really want to hook them into that. Okay, so I'm going to read what's in my profile summary as an example. Again, make sure you don't necessarily use everything that I have on here. Please do not just use this as your own experience. Please just modify your own, and because you want to be honest on a resume. Okay, so that being out of the way, let's go ahead and read what I had in here back in 2013. So it says here, in search of challenging career in IT field, I will further expand my professional experience. So that's kind of an intro there for that, and then I proceed to say professional experience that I have acquired as a business system analyst, system administrator, desktop support, and working telecom field monitoring activity for 8 years. You see what I kind of did there? I tell them this is my professional experience. I'm telling them right away I work as a business system analyst, system administrator, desktop support, and working in telecom field monitoring activity for 8 years. Now, the reason this is kind of wordy here is because what this is actually me working as a fraud analyst, and that entailed me monitoring network traffic over the phone lines and trunk lines for the company that I worked for. So I had to word it in such a way where it's relevant to the job that I'm applying for. So keep in mind, every time you make a resume, you want to tailor it specifically to that job. So you want to mention things here that are related to that, so that way you can sell yourself to the employer. You want to tell them, hey, I have specific experience to that. And we'll get to that as well here in a moment. Moving on, it says here, my dedication to employer is shown by my ability to quickly adapt and execute tasks at hand. So that's fine. You're basically telling them, I am really good at adapting. I can learn new things, and then I can execute those things really good, or really fast. And then you can change that to your liking as well. So here, if you want, once you're playing around with my template, you're going to have this in here. So just, if you want to, just change it to something so it sounds different. It can be the same thing, but just word it differently. Make sure it's not word for word, because it's plagiarism. But I'm not going to hold you onto that, though. I don't, just make sure it's not the same thing. Just, you can word it in your own way. This is why I'm leaving it like this. And the next thing it says, I have gone through numerous and challenging tasks that required fast learning creativity as part of frequent transitioning testing of new equipment, software, and network systems. So you further are talking about yourself and trying to tell them, hey, I am really good at doing all of these things. Of course, you can go through here and change it to whatever you actually did, and that, because you can't just reword it like this one here. You have to literally tailor this one to your actual experience. So don't reword this one, and just put your own experience there, and we can modify that there. And the last thing you want, and which is kind of what it's like an open end here, and it says I have a specific. And then what you actually want to do here is say, I have specific experience working on this system or working this job, and then you specify something super related and exactly related to this job. Basically, you're telling them, hey, I'm the guy for this job. I'm the guy for this job. All right. Now that kind of covers that. You guys can fill in your own thing there, modify it, whatever your experience may be. However, I do want to touch on this first part of it here, where it says, in search of a challenging career in IT field that will further expand my professional experience. It kind of sounds fake, to be honest, so I'm going to delete that. And then what I'm going to do actually here is move this part of it to the front. I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to move this part of it because I feel like times have changed, and depending on time of the year when you're looking for a job, if there are more applicants, then competition is going to be more fierce. So if the first thing is that you put on your resume, I have specific experience working this job or this system or whatever you want, that's the first thing, in my opinion, that you should have on there, because that's the first thing they read. Okay, so and then you can modify again this here where it says professional experience that I have acquired. You can word this any way you want. Just make sure you provide what is it that you worked for. So let's go ahead and delete this part of this, and I just say, I don't know, help desk. Did you work desktop support? I don't know, call center rep. Because you could be applying for help desk. You can put down, I worked as a call center rep. That's relevant. It's not necessarily IT, but it's definitely relevant. You're really good at customer service. Matter of fact, you can just put down customer service rep or whatever is it that you worked. And then if you are somebody who's coming out of if you're somebody who's coming out of school, you can say instead of let me just kind of backtrack here a little bit. If you're just coming out of school, you can say I have specific, let's see here, working experience for this job acquired from school training. You can specify that. So if you're coming out of school, you want to specify something like this. So to tell them, hey, yes, I'm just out of school. I literally just got my degree. I got my certificate. But you can word it in a sense where it just says, I know how to do this stuff. So that's what you want to tell them there. Okay. Now, let's see. Where did we get to? Okay, we were filling out this customer service rep. So yeah, again, fill this up with any additional experience that you may have. And then we have this, my dedication to employers shown by my ability to quickly adapt to execute tasks at hand. Again, reword this. Feel free to just reword this to your own liking. I have gone through numerous challenges that requires fast learning and creativity as part of frequent transitioning testing of new equipment, software, and network systems. So this is specific to me, but you can modify this to this, for example, that required, let's do this, fast deployment of new OS builds. So I'm just throwing examples in here. I have gone through numerous challenges that require a fast deployment of OS builds, and this could be true in school too. Maybe you've gone through this type of training in school as well. Or you can put down, I have gone through numerous challenges that required fast thinking and problem solving. So again, you can modify it to your own. I'm just kind of throwing you ideas out there, and feel free to just edit this template to your own liking. All right, let's move on to technical skills. All right, so technical skills. What you want to put down is simply technical skills, basically things that you worked on that you can think of. There are so many things, and you can go about it different ways, but what I like to do here, and I think this is still pretty good, you can list operating systems. And I kind of filled it in a little bit here to save time in the video, but what I added after I modified my resume, I added Windows 10, Windows 8, Windows 7, and you can go as far back as you want. And that kind of lists the things that you've touched on at least at some point, and then you can just basically list all the operating systems that you're familiar with. This is kind of self-explanatory, but be honest. You can see here that I put down Windows Server 2018, 2003, 2008, and 2012 as working knowledge. So back in the day, and 2013, literally here, I didn't really have that much experience with Windows Server, or I wasn't that knowledgeable, which has changed over time. Then, of course, you can modify this, like so. So 2016, 2019, I think that's the current one. And then I'm going to delete this working knowledge because I'm actually pretty, proficient in these servers now. So Linux web server configuration. So I'm just going to Linux. You know what? I'm just going to type in LAMP server configuration. That's basically for web server installation, Linux based. And yeah, again, just modify, make sure you're honest about this because they will ask you about it. And if you don't know how to answer any of these things that you're listing, then you're basically screwed. Excuse my lack of better words. If once they figure out that you're basically BSing here, then you wasted everybody's time, and you're not gonna get that job. And then next thing I have is software, and then you can list all kinds of different softwares that you've worked on, everything that you can think of. Just list it in there. Don't get into detail. Literally just list the names like I did here. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There are so many different things. If I were to actually start adding this, there would be quite a bit more. So I just kind of left it at that of the things that I could remember. But yeah, I mean, if you look at some of my videos, you can see that I've worked on many different things. Oh yeah, I forgot to put AWS and Google. See, now I'm just showing off. I'm sorry, guys. Google Cloud. What's the Azure? Anyways, you guys get the idea, and just kind of fill it out to the best of your knowledge. Make sure if it's very little, just make sure that you probably forgot some things. You'd be surprised, but keep thinking of things that are relevant to that job. Do you think at that job people are working on, are they like, what kind of environment is it? Is it office environment? Then you might want to, list office. So this is outdated, Office 2000. Anyways, make sure that's updated. This is really outdated. Anyways, I'm not going to start listing different offices because that you just got to make sure you update all of that. And then I've got some networking here if it's related to see, I would actually rename this probably here, or maybe just leave it there. I'm trying to think why I named it just networking, because there are some of these things that are very specific here. Anyways, if you want to leave it as networking here, I believe that's completely fine. The first part of this resume is something that's going to hook them up. Once they start reading all your experience here, they're just going to be like, oh yeah, he knows a bunch of stuff. You know what I mean? So list all the things that are related to that. And you can change this to something else. If the job is, I don't know, let's change this to Helpdesk, because I know a lot of people that watch my video are Helpdesk guys. You can start listening all the things that you used, listing things that you've used when working on Helpdesk. And you can start listing like ticketing systems and different tools that you've used in here and this and that. So let's, for example, type in just like Jira ticketing system, right? Or I already have Active Directory, user accounts, GPO, remote desktop, all kinds of stuff. See, if you're, let's see here, let's do this here. This is kind of what a help desk might look like. You want to have Active Directory user accounts on there as a first thing because you do that a lot on desktop support or desktop support, but more and more so a help desk type of thing. And then list all the things that you would kind of do as a help desk guy, you know. So start listing all those things, and that should be enough. So the next thing we have here is a professional experience. So simply put, this is your experience as the experience that you have, whatever that might be. In my example, you can see here that I have from January 2013 to current is what I have filled out here, and it says on-site end user support, troubleshooting, general and proprietary applications. And I've modified this so that way it's related to literally like a desktop support or a help desk type of a job, but more so towards a desktop support. And then I have 24/7 on-call support for major system outages. This is what my current job is at the moment. And then PC imaging, encryption, software, Active Directory, VoIP, system troubleshooting, project manager, product impact analysis. But in reality, right now I'm kind of mostly just doing help desk type of stuff because we're working from home and we're no longer on site. So you would basically modify this to whatever your current experience is, and then of course you'd want to put your title in there, and I'm going to type in business systems analyst, and I'm going to tab this over so it looks neater. I'm going to remove this part of it, and you can make slight changes here and there to look so it looks a little bit neater. And then of course, if possible, you can list second job. So let's kind of pretend that I have help desk, which I do. I don't know why I said pretend. Help desk experience. Matter of fact, you know what? Let's do this, because I think some of you, and forgive me if I am jumping to conclusion, but I think some of you may have call center experience. So let's pretend that it's that. And then you describe what you did in your call center job. So, you know, I'm going to change that. Take inbound calls from customers. Enter resolve customer issues related to, and then you specify that, and then basically describe everything that you've done, you know. So I'm just using this as an example, and if you are if you kind of want to put in things that if you like, let's say you don't have enough stuff to put in here, you can literally list down things that you've got like an award for. You know, you can say call center rep of the month award. You know, stuff like that. If you need things to fill in, just think of all the things that may have happened, some good things that have happened during that job. Anything to just kind of make yourself look good and that describes the job you have done. And I'm not too stressed out about this previous job here because the most recent job might be the most relevant job. This is kind of the main thing that they would read. This is just kind of a secondary type of thing. If this is your if this is your main thing, if this is your the only job that you have, then you might want to spend more time on it and describe what it is that you've done in there. Make sure that comes across really well, because and if you have to, make it so that it's relevant to the job that you're applying for. Again, I can't stress this enough. Don't lie on any of this stuff. Please don't lie. Okay, moving on. And it's simple, very simple. The last part of it is just education. Just kind of list down here. Oh, I need to change this here real quick. Down here, list real quick what kind of education you have. Let's say you have A+ certification. Let's see, I don't know. Did I spell certification right? No, I didn't. You can say associate degree in, I don't know, let's say in business. Or you can say, I mean, it doesn't matter that you've got a degree in business. You can still get these type of jobs if you want to switch over to doing help desk and work on computers. Whatever degree that you have, make sure you list it. But you can, you know, say whatever that is, associate degree in, let's say, I don't know, networking or whatever that might be. And then you have to provide location. So let's say St. Louis, Missouri, and then name of the college, for example, I don't know, MSU, or whatever the name of the college is, institution, or whatever it is, just list it there. This is very simple, last type of thing. So guys, this is the template I've used to get many interviews and my current job as well as business system analyst. So I hope this helps you. I know it's really hard to create a resume, but as long as you tailor it to the job that you're applying for, and I don't mean, again, don't lie, but make sure you tell them that you have that specific experience. So once you go through and look for jobs, look for the ones that you can do. Don't apply for jobs that you can't do. That's just not, it's not going to work, and it's not right either. It's not honest. So yeah, feel free to take all of this stuff, reword things that are going to help you, and in some ways, but please don't, like, for example, use the exact same things that I've typed in here. So just make sure you use your own. This is why I'm not going to leave it as just a, you know, empty template with, you know, things that says operating system and then there's nothing in here. I'm going to leave it as it is, so that way you guys can change it to your own way. All right. Again, please use your own stuff on here, and I wish you best of luck, guys. Make sure you do a lot of research before you apply for any of the jobs. If you need interview training, God knows I have videos on that. I have top 20 desktop support interview questions and answers. I have top help desk interview questions and answers. I have top system administrator interview questions and answers. Top network administrator interview questions and answers. I have all of this stuff on my channel. So if you want to go to my channel, youtube.com/Kobuman, and click on the search box. It's kind of underneath the image there, like the front image, and with the logo and stuff like. There's a search box in there, and just type in desktop support. Matter of fact, if you go to youtube.com and just type in desktop support interview questions and answers, my video is going to show up. Or help desk interview questions and answers, my videos are going to show up. Just click on the video that says Kobuman. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I wish you best of luck, and take care.